What's going on, everyone? So, Anthony Davis is the Lakers center. And look, I've maintained as long as LeBron James is on this team, Anthony Davis is going to have to play the center spot. Lakers obviously are very active in trying to find and trade for a center, that they're looking to add another center in a backup capacity. Obviously, Jonas Valanciunas, Day'Ron Sharpe, Walker Kessler would be the best option in my opinion, but Nikola Vucevic, right? Like, you have several options that are out there that the Lakers have explored on potentially pairing and maybe even putting alongside Anthony Davis on occasion. Just because Anthony Davis has to start as the 5 doesn't mean that throughout the course of the game you can't have two big looks and have Anthony Davis play more power forward. Look, he's been very open and public about how he doesn't want to play. He's not saying that he never wants to play the center spot, but he just doesn't want to play it full time. He doesn't mind playing the center, but he doesn't want to play it, 40 minutes a game. But he is best at the center spot. He's such an incredible mismatch at the center spot. It's just like certain matchups, Jokic, Sabonis have not been great. Kind of these bigger, kind of more physical European centers. Anthony Davis has had his struggles holding down. Although, in this last playoff run, Anthony Davis was spectacular and really, you could argue, outplayed Nikola Jokic. But nonetheless, you got a new coach. And one of the big things that we were hopeful to see is kind of more two big lineups, right? Having multiple bigs out there on the basketball court that you can kind of get different looks with. And you've seen a little bit of it, right? We've seen JJ Redick a couple times kind of play Anthony Davis alongside, Jackson Hayes, Christian Koloko. But for the most part, it's been AD at the center with like a Rui or a LeBron or even like an Armel Traore, things like that. And it's kind of like, okay, well, why hasn't JJ kind of played more two big looks, right? And we pull off a trade, are we going to get more big, two big looks, or kind of redundant? And it's like, oh, you're just going to kind of go back and forth, right, with one big, and then that backup big's only going to play 12 minutes a game, right? Like, how are they going to kind of make that work? Well, JJ Redick himself addressed kind of like the lack of two bigs and why we haven't seen more of two centers on the basketball. Because even JJ going into the season talked about how he wanted to kind of have more looks at that and wanted to kind of have AD play more for, kind of get different looks in that regard. So here's what JJ had to say. So head coach JJ Redick explained why he hasn't chosen that option and that he doesn't like any of the two big scenarios he's had so far. It's not a good fit. And frankly, I don't think it's a great fit with Jackson Hayes either. Redick said after the team loss against the Wolves, we're really encouraged. I know he didn't have a great shooting night tonight in terms of scoring the basketball, but we're really encouraged with kind of growth Rui had. And whether it's LeBron or Rui playing the 4 with Jackson or Koloko, we like that better. So talking about how LeBron James, Rui Hachimura are kind of like the more preferred at the 4, slotted alongside, Anthony Davis, Christian Koloko, Jackson Hayes. That, not so much, a Koloko and a Hayes or an AD and a Hayes, like why we haven't seen that. And look, I do think like when Christian Wood gets back, I do think that could help a little bit more. Maybe getting a guy in Wood who, he's probably best suited at the 4 than the 5, but his ability to kind of stretch the floor, score around the rim. He also not this great defensive player and rim protector around the rim, but he is okay handling his own as long as he's not on an island, right? If the opposing offensive player just kind of blows by our guy, which unfortunately we have Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura out on the perimeter defending, so that happens a lot. Christian Wood is a guy that, kind of struggles in that regard. You see the same thing with Jackson Hayes, see the same thing with Christian Koloko's better at it, but he's starting to come around a little more, to Christian Koloko's credit. He has been kind of impactful in more recent games than he has been before, which in his defense, the guy went from, he was a project before he even had all the blood clot concerns, and then he goes and misses a year and a half, comes back. Like, you expect that there's going to be a little rust, a little, like, kind of refiguring some stuff out. So, in Koloko's defense, I do think he's done a good job, and I do think he's getting more and more comfortable out there. And like I've talked about, he's basically Jackson Hayes with the shot block shot blocking better ability, right? Better shot blocker. But nonetheless, right, our centers aren't really backup centers, right? Like Jackson Hayes, I like Jackson Hayes, but as like a third big, right? He's not really your second primary big. Like if the Lakers keep Jackson Hayes, great, fine. I'm all for that. He is still young. There's still room for growth and potential and upside, but he's a guy that, when Anthony Davis gets the night off in a backup role, sure. But most nights you're looking at most playing him, 8 to 10 minutes, right? Small little doses, high energy, high effort, run the floor. Same thing with Koloko, right? Like you're looking for right now for him kind of just come in, slot in, high energy, high effort, give you, 8 to 10 minutes a game, give you different looks, give you different perspectives, kind of give guys some rest, maybe play AD more at the 4, right? But until that happens, right? Like Christian Wood, I do think could kind of come in and help, right? Having Anthony Davis as the help defender, and then, like I said, Christian Wood as the help defender is actually very good, but he's not great on an island. So you need to kind of keep that in mind when you're talking about it. The other option, of course, would be if the Lakers were to pull off some type of trade, if the Lakers ended up getting a trade done, for Valanciunas, who, again, doesn't really help defensively, like shot blocking wise, but he is a big physical presence that you can dump the ball down to out there. He's also a guy that can kind of, give you the kind of back to the basket and playmaking. If you're looking for stretch the floor a little bit, he's not like great or elite, but at least enough to where teams got to at least respect it. And he has had games where he's been able to kind of light it up from 3. Obviously, again, a Day'Ron Sharp or, a Nikola Vucevic or Brook Lopez or whatever, like any of these targets that you've heard the Lakers have interest in and potentially fielding, I do think that there is a better argument for 80 at the 4 slotted along them on many nights. Again, more often than not, it's not going to happen. More often than not, Anthony Davis is going to play the 5. LeBron is going to play the 4. Maybe certain matchups, you could do it, sprinkle a couple minutes with LeBron at the 3. But throughout the course of the games, most games, more nights than not, 9 out of every 10 games, you're going to see Anthony Davis at the 5, LeBron at the 4, which is why I've been so heavy on, like, look, the Lakers just need a backup center. They just need somebody that can come in, be serviceable for 15 to 20 minutes a game. You don't need anything crazy. Like, people have been like, what about Nikola Vucevic? Like, I like Vu. I think he'd be great. I think it helps a lot, but you're not bringing him off the bench, right? He's a guy that you would start, and then, is it worth kind of running the risk with LeBron James and kind of wearing him down and his foot and stuff? He's already dealing with foot issues and foot concerns. Is that something you really want to put on LeBron, having to chase around quicker, twitchier, athletic wings? Probably not the greatest idea, right? So Lakers are in an interesting position, to put it nicely, right? Like they really got to kind of figure out and see, like, what are they going to do as far as like the big man goes on the trade market. Depending on what you get could kind of depend and dictate on how things kind of shape up here, right? Because if, like, Valanciunas, how well does that look alongside with Anthony Davis? Maybe more so because you get more offensive versatility with like a Valanciunas than you would with like a Christian Koloko or Jackson Hayes, right? Like those two guys are pretty much relegated to, lob threats. Really don't give you much else on the offensive side of things. Also, look, if Anthony Davis wants to play more 4, he's got to get back to knocking down, particularly the 3 ball with more consistency, but just his jump shot's got to be there, right? Like, he's been good. He's had his moments this season, but he's also had some stretches more recently where he's really struggled to just kind of shoot the basketball, shoot the 3 ball. So if you're going to have Anthony Davis play the 4, you kind of need him to have that versatility on the offensive side of things, right? Otherwise, like, what's the point, right? If you're just going to have, let's say you go get Valanciunas. If you're just going to have Valanciunas essentially be out and playing like he's the 2 guard out there on offense, that kind of defeats the point of having 2 bigs, right? Like, you kind of want to have different looks. I'm not saying you can't ever have Valanciunas drawing out the center or anything like that, but you kind of need to have that kind of flexibility and versatility, particularly if you're going to run the 2 bigs. And Anthony Davis is going to have to come in, step in, kind of fill in that role, kind of fill in that spot for the Lakers if he wants to play more 4. Look, I'm not against it. I'm all for it. But I understand kind of JJ Redick's reasoning where it's like, because he's tried, he's looked. I'm sure he's done it in practices and stuff like that and kind of try to get looks at it. And, Jackson Hayes, Christian Coloco, right? Like, they're not the best at what you need alongside Anthony Davis, right? And the defensive liability. Now Anthony Davis can't be aggressive at the rim because you got this center kind of just clogging up the paint, right? So now Anthony Davis has got to be kind of converted more into a jump shooter and stuff. Just concerns and some questions. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea of Anthony Davis playing more forward? Would you like to see it with Christian Coloco and Jackson Hayes when he gets back? Again, Christian Wood potentially. Do you think no? Absolutely not. You need to have Anthony Davis play the 5 until you actually trade and get that center, Valanciunas, whomever. That just makes more sense with Anthony Davis slotted along and playing more of the 4, where you just kind of get better looks and kind of more versatility to where Anthony Davis can kind of do more out there at the 4 than he currently can with a Jackson Hayes, with the Valanciunas. Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, either way, love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.